Welcome to a brand new series here on H&C. We've teamed up with British Eventing to find out a bit more about a slightly less conventional type of event horse, the Cob. I've come here to Bognor Equestrian Centre in Scotland to find out what it takes to get a Cob out eventing. This is Cobs CAN Go Eventing. Welcome back to Cobs CAN Go Eventing. Now guys, it feels a bit different.
Yeah, something has changed.
Something's
You're a wee
definitely...
bit higher up than you were in the other episodes.
Yeah, but I'm on Thor.
Finally, a proper horse, Marvin.
A real
Exactly,
horse,
a proper
yeah.
horse. He is pretty cool. Well, I don't actually know, really. We're going to find out a little bit about him and give him a little bit of work. He kind of reminds me a little bit of a horse that I did badminton on,
Okay.
who was quite a Cob himself.
Have you, that's what I was going to ask, have you ridden a lot of Cobs before? Because in my mind, a revered eventer like yourself
Revered.
would be on ace. What do you think? So you're
Sorry,
eventing
Thor's just
career.
trumping there. Good boy.
But
Wind powered.
I envisage a 5-star event horse to be a serious, sharp sports horse.
Yeah.
That is
so,
a thoroughbred
so
type.
interestingly enough, that horse, he was phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal, and he really does remind me of him.
What reminds you?
Just he was quite, you know,
Stocky.
yes, stood like, you know, really square, and you know, he was very strong front, and actually his face and it just reminds me of him, and actually that look. He's looking very chirpy right now. Anyway, so I thought I'd give him a little bit of work. We could work them a little bit together.
Do you, when you're riding a new horse, Simon, because we're, I guess, on our own ponies all the time, what do you think about, like, would you treat a Cob any differently
Absolutely
to riding a blood horse?
Absolutely not. Well, you know, it depends, doesn't it? Because like, I've ridden lots of Cobs in my time, and I've ridden some Cobs that are really sharp. Because it's a bit of a misconception, isn't it? People are like, oh, Cobs are a donkey. I mean, she's definitely not a donkey, is she? You know, she can be, and he can be sharp when he wants to be, can't he?
I think it's very common. People think that they're kind of plods, like
Lazy.
and like you can barely get them to do a lap of canter, and sometimes we can barely get them to stop the laps of canter.
Yeah.
So.
But they're sharp enough, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, especially like Bozzy, the horse I was telling you about, Corner Crew, called. He was so good in front, and that's because he was quite sharp, and he was also hugely intelligent. I think that's where they're an advantage.
Yeah, I think I am trying to train Jem to be as sporty a pony and Cob as possible. So I guess it's down to training. Just because you have a Cob doesn't necessarily mean it's a safe ride.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to say with this whole series, really, isn't it? That actually Cobs are pretty cool.
Cobs can.
And they
Cobs
definitely,
can go
they totally can.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm not shooting myself in the foot by saying that, because, you know, me and Thor, we're going to see what we can do. I can give him a little bit of work. So Thor is a horse that I don't know, obviously, and he seems pretty cool, but I'm just going to have a little bit of a trot, see how he feels, and what I've got underneath me. It's like any new horse that you've not ridden before, any horse. Just got to, so straight away he's a little bit onto his left shoulder, so I want to be thinking about keeping him straight, and just going back to what Sarah was saying about straightness, but I don't have anything to go around, so whoops, we're just going to fall over. That's all right, mate, don't worry, it's not for long, I promise. And just do a circle up here and just see whether I can keep him bent round my inside leg. Good boy, he's nice and supple this way, good chap. And he's got a nice rhythm, nice flow, just lost the shoulder there again. You know, we're talking about, with Sarah, about losing the shoulder in or out. Sometimes Thor here can fall into his inside shoulder, then also they fell out a little bit as well. So, and again, that comes back to what we were doing in the jumping, when we were jumping the corners, curving to that skinny, or the wall curved to the skinny. It's about having those shoulders where you want them. Oh boy. And it's kind of working on rhythm, straightness, bend, about all these different things. And this way, I feel like I can lose that left shoulder quite easily. Good boy. think we probably ought to have a little canter, oughtn't we? See how that feels. Good boy. A little circle. Good boy. Well, that's good. So, a couple of things there. He fell onto his inside shoulder, a little bit like we were expecting. He was also really good off my leg there, which sounds rude of me, but I was expecting him to be a little bit behind my leg. But actually, he was really good there. But he does just fall onto that right shoulder a bit. So I'm just going to work on that a little bit. Think about bend, flexion, perhaps leg yield out. Again, making sure that's not falling through the shoulder, that's where I want him to go. Just get him a bit softer. Again, onto that inside shoulder. Think a little bit shoulder fall, and then the transition's a bit better. Good boy. You guys okay?
Yes, I think so.
I'm having a nice time here.
I'm just sitting here relaxing. Because that's
We were
what
going
I'm
to talk
do
a bit,
now,
weren't we,
Michael.
about fitness.
Yeah.
So what kind of fitness do you do with Jem?
So I think
Ooh, inside
that I, would you believe, tend to overthink and over-prepare
shoulder.
my
Josie,
fitness.
overthinking never.
I think that my view is if I have something where maybe I've not got the natural speed of a thoroughbred, for example,
Yep.
or a part-bred, I'm going to over-prepare.
Yep.
So the beach for me is fantastic
Yep.
because it cleans her feathers and
Yep.
her sort of loo brush-esque legs when she's got a bit more hair on them. And she enjoys the beach, feels the salt water's good, but I would be training her and asking her to get up to a gallop for 6 minutes.
Yes.
Because maybe at grassroots the time's going to be about 5.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure she's extra prepared.
Yeah.
Because also we've got very weird weather in the UK now
Yeah.
because of global warming.
Yeah.
So it tends to be super hot.
Yeah.
So I don't want to leave anything to chance because she's not got the natural puff
Yeah.
of a more obvious eventy sporty horse.
Yeah. I think so. With the horse that I was telling you about Corner Crew, he was
Mm-hmm.
quite Cobb-esque, and he had quite chunky joints, and he would land quite heavy, and he didn't have particularly long stride.
Yeah,
So I think you have to box clever a little bit with fitness.
yeah,
Like, you know, he was a little bit extreme the other way. He was doing 5 studs, so he had to be galloping for 11, 12 minutes.
that's a long
It's a long time, especially on those big joints. And, you know, he was quite chunky.
Yeah,
You know, not dissimilar to this chap, but actually a bit bigger.
yeah,
So you're punishing yourself every stride. So it's not just the event where that punishment comes, it's also in the fitness.
yeah.
So I did a lot of interval training, so it wasn't trying to not put too much pressure on.
What
And
is-
we also swam.
What is your definition of interval training? Because I feel people talk a lot about feed balancer. What is feed balancer? What is interval training?
Yeah, exactly, and we covered that. We don't know what interval training is. Well, for me, interval training, well, it's building it up, isn't it? I would normally start, well, you can do it, it's whatever works for that horse, isn't it?
Okay.
You know, so like you can start it, I do it a set of cantering, then a break for 3 minutes, then another set of cantering, then a break for 3 minutes, and then another set of cantering, and
Yeah.
then finish. And you can start with 1 minute of cantering,
Yep.
and then a break for 3, and then another minute, and then a break for 3, and then another minute. And then you build it up. And like with Bozzy, we were doing it slowly, so it didn't have to be really fast work, so it wasn't punishing.
Yeah, because I guess you don't want to just be cantering for 10 minutes.
At massive speed.
Yes.
That's what does the punishment.
Yeah.
And also, he swam.
Interesting.
he
So you
swam a lot.
would go right in and swim, because I have walked and trotted her through the water, and she has forded a few rivers in her time when I've been out extreme hacking.
Yeah.
But so you actually went in swimming.
Yeah, took him swimming, but that is quite extreme. You know, he was doing big stuff, you know, and I think we're getting quite in depth here. I think you also need to think with fitness, when we're doing 80, 90, 100, it's not, I think as long as you're doing the work, as in your schooling, jumping, a couple of lessons a week like you have.
Yeah.
You know, proper hacking.
Yeah.
Like and not just like we are ambling around now, actually getting them to work and lots of trotting. Then it's not quite so bad. You know, I think you need to be stressing so much about gallop work.
Yeah.
I've spoken to quite a few top riders, and actually they all say the same. But again, they're talking about horses that have probably got quite a lot of thoroughbred in them.
Yeah.
So it's all, you've got to kind of weigh it all up, and it's really good to speak to. You've got your coach, haven't you, David?
Yeah.
And you can speak to him about fitness. Exactly. And make a bit of a program. And I think people at home need to think about making sure they actually have a proper program set up.
And getting advice from the right people.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Right, I need to go and have a little canter on the left rein. Okay. Had my canter on the right, he fell onto the right shoulder, and then I got chatting, of course, classic Simon chatting. And on the right rein, he really fell onto that right shoulder in the canter transition. So I just want to think here, I'll just try it out. Ooh, scary door. Good boy. Again, thinking about that inside bend and flexion and my contact. And then should we do a little transition here? Whee! He's a bit actually, although he was a bit more jolly that way, he's actually a bit softer. And he's on the left shoulder now, but he wasn't in the transition, so that's good. Good boy. And you ready, Simon? Forward to trot. Good boy, staying in balance. Keep the connection. Good boy. Oh, and then there's Morven. Let's go and have a chat with Morven. Ooh. So Morven, what do you, with your fitness, do you do lots of hacking or?
I think quite similar to Josie. I tend to go to the beach and the gallops when I can.
Yeah.
We've got a beach about 25 minutes drive, so it's very handy.
And how often do you do fitness work?
On the run up to event season, he's in like probably 5-6 days a week worth of work, not necessarily all fitness. But I think Josie was saying as well about if the optimum time, say 5 minutes, I want to have him
fit enough to be able to gallop for 5 minutes.
I normally train with my watch on, and I try and get him to the point where he's recovering quickly after like a 6-minute gallop.
Yeah.
And I just think that going into a competition knowing that he's like comfortable enough doing that gives me a lot more confidence rather than having to think halfway through a cross country course, is he getting tired?
Yeah. And did you, when you went to badminton?
Yeah.
Did you find that fitness regime worked?
Definitely.
Was he still on the bridle as you came through the finish?
Yeah, so we actually at badminton, if I'd been 1 second faster, we'd have been too fast.
Yeah.
Which I think was a big surprise to me because I wasn't really paying attention to the time as I was going round, because I thought if we get round in one piece and get clear, I'm happy. I don't really mind about time penalties.
Yeah.
And I came through the finish and looked at my watch and went, oh my God, we were like so fast.
That's brilliant. That's so
and I
cool.
think it was just we started training last year around about this time, and badminton's not obviously till May, so he had a good few months of intense getting ready for badminton training, and I think that made all the difference that he went and he took me to each fence, and I didn't even need to use my leg, and I think that made a big difference to his overall performance.
Well, also the other thing I think with him is that you can get him into this really lovely rhythm.
Yeah.
So you don't waste any time in that rhythm as well.
Yeah, and I think that's why his cross country, I think, is probably his strongest phase, because when we get into that rhythm cross country, he can go around the full course, so it's a lovely rhythm, whereas show jumping, because it is in a smaller area, he loses his rhythm, and that's where he can drop a pole and things like that. But once he's in a rhythm, it's
then
such
happy
a smooth
days.
course, like round as well.
And talking of badminton, what would you say to guys at home that are thinking, oh, I've got a horse that I'm not really sure it could go eventing, it's a bit of a cob, or like going to badminton, that was an amazing experience for you and for him. I don't imagine you ever imagined that would happen.
No, definitely not. And like I said, when I went to try him, we jumped 2 little cross poles, and we never bought him to event. I never even planned to event in general. So I think the thing is that, like, I'd had Mikey at this point for 7 years before getting to badminton, so I think just keep training and keep putting in the effort. And
I think it's well, from what you've described, it's more about enjoying it.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it, and then
we've always done it just for fun, and it just so happens we also
then
did quite
materialise
well
into that. It's brilliant.
And I think because we were enjoying it, it meant there was less pressure, like, to do well, and I think you then put less pressure on yourself, and you do better from that. So
have you found that since you've had the success of badminton, and that actually you probably ride with more pressure and then sometimes make mistakes?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, the difference it makes?
As well, because obviously Mikey's very distinguished, like they're distinguishable, that you can see that it's Mikey from a mile
Yeah,
off.
and so many people know of him
People
now.
know who he is, and well, they
He's
know
got a
him
proper
rather
fan
than
club.
me. So then quite often people come up and go, oh, is this the wee cob that went round badminton? And I'm like, oh my God, you're going to watch me round. Like, and I think
Please
it does,
don't
like,
watch me.
I put so much pressure on myself now, because I think even just the stereotype of cobs not being able to do things, I feel like it's a personal pressure to do well.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I want to prove to you that this wee cob can do it just as well as anyone else. And but yeah, no.
And he totally can.
He definitely
He's
can, yeah.
absolutely done it, hasn't he?
He definitely can. Me, not so much.
Oh, rubbish. He wouldn't be doing what he's doing without you, so
Yeah.
that's definitely not the case. Right, I think I ought to give Thor a little jump.
Yeah.
Shall we have a go? Okay. Woohoo! Good boy. No, 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 no. Ooh, ooh. Good boy. Oh, sorry. Gonna go for a bit of a gallop. Come on, off that left shoulder, young man. Good boy. Ooh. Ooh. Good boy. Ooh. Ooh. Boy. Ooh. Well, that was really good fun. Thor was a very good boy. Interesting, I tell you, this EQUIDRY jacket is a bit too good. I'm slightly steaming. He's been really good fun. He's really sharp in front. It certainly feels like he's really sharp in front. And that's the thing that I love about Cobs. You know, they want to do it. They use their brains, which is why they can go eventing, can't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are living proof.
Absolutely. I thought you were going to say living the dream.
Both.
That's
Totally.
That's